Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a book haul, and this is just some random books that I've picked up here and there. As you guys know, I buy like 90% of my books secondhand. I don't buy full price books very often. Even on Amazon, I tend to buy them used because I just don't feel the need to buy books brand new unless maybe it's a book that I really love or something like that. But usually I love thrifting and just kind of seeing what I can find, seeing if there's books like at the thrift store that I've been having my eye on for like a really long time. And I always get so excited when I do see books at the thrift store that I've had my eye on for a long time. It's like this dopamine hit for me, and I think that's why I love thrifting for books so much. So most of these books are secondhand. Not all of them are, but most of them are. So this is just kind of a quick little book haul, and these are just books that I haven't shared with you guys yet that I have purchased fairly recently. So this first book is The Bone Gap. So this is actually a book that I purchased quite a while ago, and I put it in the back of my car and I forgot that I'd put it back there, and I was cleaning the back of my car and I'm like, oh, I forgot that I bought this. I got this for $5 at a thrift store, which I feel like is kind of expensive for a thrift store. I'm not gonna lie, thrift stores are not cheap anymore and it irritates me. But this is about a girl who goes missing. This is a YA novel. She goes missing and her friend knows who kidnapped her, but he can't remember his face. And that's pretty much all I know about this, but I've heard such amazing things about it. Plus it has a little bee on it, like a bumblebee, and I freaking love bumblebees. They're out in my garden right now and they're like buzzing around my lavender and they're so flippin' cute. And so I wanted to give this a try and see how I like it. I'm not a huge YA reader anymore, but I do like them occasionally because they're usually really quick, fun, like fast reads. And that is why I picked this up. So I think this is kind of like a mystery thriller type of thing, but for a YA audience. And I'm really interested in this one. So that is my first one. The second one was one I found in my little library, and this has been on my reading list on Goodreads forever. Like, I've wanted to read this book for a long time, but it's just one of those books that you never really just like pick up. You just kind of have it in your head, and if you see it around, you're like, oh, I'll pick it up. That's kind of how this book was for me. And it is Free Will by Sam Harris, and this is basically his really short, this is a teeny tiny book, but it's his kind of theories on free will and how we actually do not have free will, and that's just a kind of made up concept. And I've always been very interested in free will and kind of like Sam Harris's take on free will. He's very famous for talking about it. And I was so excited when I saw this in my little library and I picked it up right away. Plus it's like so short. So it's going to be a really fun and quick read, and I'm really excited about it. The next book I picked up was Razorblade Tears. I don't think I've talked about this on my channel yet, but I had this on my wish list on my Amazon account, and sometimes Travis, for like birthdays or holidays or something, he'll go on my Amazon wish list and he'll buy me a book off of what's on my Amazon wish list. And he picked up this one for me, and this is a book that I've been wanting to read for a long time. I've heard that this is just a very endearing, heartwarming story, and sometimes I'm really in the mood for something like that because I feel like endearing and heartwarming stories are like those books that usually tend to be 5 stars, but sometimes they're just a little bit harder to pick up. You know what I mean? So this is about 2 older men, and they're both ex-cons, I believe, and one of their sons was gay and the other one, I'm not sure exactly, but both of them were murdered, I guess. And these 2 guys who have nothing in common, very just like unexpected friends, they come together and they want to get revenge for their murdered sons. And I think it sounds like a really interesting book with a lot of interesting social commentary and things like that. So I'm really excited to read this. I think it's going to be really good. So the next book I picked up was Come Closer by Sarah Gran. So this is an interesting book because this kind of touches on like haunting or a possession, but the girl who is being like possessed or haunted or whatever thinks that it's like some weird psychological problem. Like she thinks that there's something wrong with her, you know, she has maybe some sort of mental illness or something, and I think that this is kind of her trying to figure out what's going on with her. But it also has to do with like haunting and possession, I think. This is a pretty old book, but I thought it sounded really interesting because you guys know I really like psychology and I like realistic takes on like kind of fantastical concepts, and I feel like this could do that really well. So I'm really excited for this. It's just like a short little horror novella. I've been really into my horror novellas lately, and so I was really excited when I saw this one. I got this in Portland actually. This is one of the books I actually bought brand new. So like I said, it's pretty rare, but I did get this one brand new. So the next book is The Boyfriend Material by Alexis Hall. So this is actually a gift from my sister-in-law. I think somebody gave this to her, and then she didn't really feel like she wanted to read it. She didn't really have any interest in it, so then she gave it to me. So this is, I think, a fake dating thing. It's basically about this famous guy who needs to clean up his image, and so he has to get like a fake boyfriend to clean up his image. And so he finds this random guy, and luckily this random guy needs a date to this like event. And so they decide to like fake date or whatever. They literally have nothing in common at all, but it's just like your basic fake dating trope, but gay, I believe. So I think this will be really cute and really interesting. It's not something that I would pick up normally just because I tend to pick up straight romances, but this I think will be kind of fun and just kind of a different switch up for me. So I'm really excited for this. I think it'll be really, really cute. So my same sister-in-law gave me this book to read. She said it was a really quick and easy read. She read it and I think she gave it like 4 stars. She said it wasn't like the most life-changing book, but it was like a fun, quick read. So I've heard completely mixed things about this. Like, this is one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen, but I've heard some people liked it and some people really, really didn't like it. So I don't know what I'm gonna think about this, to be honest. I'm just gonna kind of maybe jump into it one of these days, and if I don't really end up liking it, then I'll probably just DNF it. But I've wanted to read this. Like, this cover has always really, really drawn me to it because it's just so beautiful. Like, this blurple color, like bluish purple, is one of my favorite colors. I think it's so, so, so pretty. So the next book I picked up was Lore Olympus Volume 4. And I kind of want to read all of these again because I just love this little series. It's so flippin' cute. And I cannot wait to read this one. If you've never read these, just go to your library and pick them up and give them a try because you will love them. If you love Hades and Persephone, you kind of like friends to lovers. It's kind of enemies to lovers mixed with friends to lovers. It's really, really weird. It's like this weird mix of the two, and it's just such a good little fast read that has like the romance vibes, and it's just fun. Like, super, super fun. So definitely check this out if you haven't, and I'm really, really excited to read this. Next is Tress of the Emerald Sea. Travis got this for me as well, and he got this actually at my local bookstore, and the guy said that this is Brandon Sanderson's kind of like secret project. And I've never read a Brandon Sanderson. I have Warbreaker on my shelf. I just haven't gotten to it yet because it's a pretty long read, and so I'm kind of intimidated by it, but I really, really want to read Warbreaker because I've heard it's so good. But this is kind of like a secret project that apparently he wrote for his wife, and then he decided to publish it. Now, I don't know if this is like a cozy fantasy or what, but I do know this takes place on the ocean. It takes place on the sea in a ship, and there's like pirates and stuff like that, which I love that vibe. I love books that take place on ships. And so I think that this will be really, really up my alley. I have no idea what to expect with this. I haven't heard very many people talk about this. Like, I don't know if it's good. I don't know if it's gotten bad, good reviews. I don't know. But I think this sounds really, really good, and it's a standalone, but I think he was working on like 4 or 5 secret projects, and this was one of them. So another book that I found recently at Goodwill for $3.99 was a book that I never thought I was gonna read. Like, you know when there's a book that becomes popular and you're like, I just don't have a desire to read that book, and I probably never will, but then you see it at like a thrift store and you're like, well, maybe I could read it, maybe I could give it a try. And that's kind of how I felt with this book. I was never gonna buy it full price, but I saw it there and I was like, maybe if I'm in the mood for a romance, I'll read it. But it's The Love Hypothesis. Now, the reason I've never wanted to read this, even though it's gotten so many good reviews, is because he is not attractive to me. Like, I do not find him attractive, and if there is people on the cover of a book, I can't help but picture the people on the cover as the characters in my head. And if I don't think that the guy is attractive, then I'm just gonna be like, meh about it. Because a lot of times if I read a romance and I'm not picturing a guy that I like, then I usually tend to like the romance less. And I know that's weird, but it's just how I am, I don't know. And so I've never been really interested in reading this because I just don't find this guy that attractive, and I'm just kind of like, I don't know. But I'm gonna try it because I've heard such good things. Everybody that reads this loves it. So I'm like, you know what, maybe I'll just try it and see what I think. I don't know, it was only $3.99, so. The next book was also from Goodwill, and this is $4.99, and this is The Dead Romantics. And this is a book that I've been like interested in for a very long time, but again, just didn't want to buy it full price, so I was like, if I see it around, I'll get it. And this is an interesting little romance book about like, I think it's about like 2 people, they're in like the publishing industry or something like that, and this one guy is like an editor or something, and he gives her a really hard time, I think. They're kind of like enemies. And then he dies, and then he comes to like haunt her, I guess, and like, I don't know. I think that's kind of what it's about. And I think that sounds really, really interesting. I don't know. I think this is a romance. but I don't know how this is a romance. Like, does she have a romance with a ghost? I don't know. But I'm kind of interested in this. I've heard good things, but I've also heard mediocre things. So I don't know what I'm going to think, but I'm excited to give this a try. So we'll see. So this is a book that has been recommended to me a million times because of the things that I like in books. And this is The Glass Castle. I see this at Goodwill all the time. Like, if you look in the biography section, this is going to be in that section without a doubt. I see like 3 copies every time I go. And I got this for $3.99, and this is basically a memoir of a child's life. And I think they lived in like a pretty abusive, like really hard childhood. And as you guys know, I love seeing how children cope with trauma. I think it's really fascinating to see their coping mechanisms that they create as children, because children are resilient, but I think that children's minds are so unique when it comes to dealing with trauma and things like that. And so many people said that this would be the perfect book for me to read because of my interest in like child psychology. So I'm really excited to read this. I think it'll be really, really good. And yeah, hopefully I end up liking it. So another book that I really want to read, this is actually from my cousin. She's just letting me borrow it, but I'm going to haul it because I do want to talk about it. And me and my cousin have kind of the same taste in humor. Like, we have very similar like humor styles. Is that the word? We have a similar sense of humor. That's what I was looking for. So this is called Unibrow, and this is a memoir about this random girl. I don't even know who this girl is. I don't know if she's like famous. I don't know, but her name is Una, but when she was little she had a unibrow, and she was always made fun of her unibrow, or for her unibrow. And I guess she's like hilarious. Like, my cousin was like, this is the funniest book ever. She's like, you need to read this. You will laugh a million times in this book. It's just funny, and it just talks about her life, and I really want to read this. I actually read the first chapter and I was already laughing about it, so I'm interested to see what my cousin was laughing about and why she thought this was so funny. Like I said, I don't even know who this girl is. I don't even know if she's just some random girl that decided to write a book about her life, but I just love the cover. It's just so funny and random. It's just random. Next up is Normal People by Sally Rooney. This was $6.99 at the thrift store. Obnoxious price, I'm not gonna lie, for a thrift store. But this is a book that we all know. We've all heard about, we all hear about Sally Rooney, and I've never read a Sally Rooney book before, but I've heard Normal People is a great book. I don't know what book Sally Rooney is the most famous for. I think it's this one, Normal People. Like, I think a lot of people like this one. So I'm going to read this, and hopefully I like it. What do you guys think of this book? If you've read Sally Rooney, is she worth the hype? I'd be really curious to hear your guys' thoughts on her, because I've never read her, but there's some people out there that are just like obsessed with Sally Rooney. So we're gonna give this one a try. Next is 7 Days in June by Tia Williams. I had to read this because I've heard so many good things about this romance. Like, you cannot be in the romance community without hearing about 7 Days in June. And so I bought this book on Amazon used, and the used books on Amazon are always in pretty good condition. I've only gotten one used book from Amazon that was like destroyed. And I was like, what is this? Like, the spine was all destroyed, but that was only one time. This book is apparently about like a second chance romance, and apparently when they were younger, I think they were like kind of together for like 7 days, like years and years ago. And then finally, when they get older, I guess she's kind of having a hard time in life, he's kind of having a hard time in life, they kind of come back together and they try to do like a second chance romance, I think. I'm not really sure. I think that's kind of what the storyline is, but I just know it's a second chance romance, and I've just heard such amazing, amazing, amazing things about it. Like, I've never heard anybody say bad things about this book. So because I'm a huge romance reader, I needed to buy this. I just needed to try it, so I'm excited for this one. Next up is Insomnia by Sarah Pinborough. I'm not really sure what this is about, to be honest, but this cover, I love this bright orange writing on it. I think it's so pretty. I got this at Goodwill for $3.99. Now, Sarah Pinborough wrote Behind Her Eyes, and you guys know that I recently changed my rating for that book to 5 stars from 4 stars because the twist in it was so shocking and nothing that I expected at all, and it was just such a good twist. So I want to read another Sarah Pinborough because I want to see if she's just really good at writing twists. Like, she just might be one of those people that really enjoys twists, and so she tries to write them in her books a lot. So I want to read this and see if this has a good twist like Behind Her Eyes did. So I'm really excited about this one. When I'm in the mood for a thriller, this is definitely going to be one that I pick up soon. So, and then the book I'm probably the most excited to get to out of all of these was a book that I picked up recently for full price, and I haven't read too many anthologies, if I'm being honest. Like, I just never pick up anthologies, but I started thinking about it, And I'm like, I think I really like anthologies, I just don't ever pick them up. Like, some of my favorite books of all time are anthologies, like some 40 Tales of the Afterlives. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark was one of my favorite books as a child, and I just tend to like them, but I never ever pick them up. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is an anthology. But then I kind of started looking at it and I'm like, you know what? I think I might really, really like this, and I want to try another anthology to see if it's true that I do tend to like them. So this is 19 Claws and a Blackbird, and this is a horror novel, I believe. And each of these stories are horror based, I'm pretty sure, but I think that they kind of deal with interesting topics of like psychology, kind of the human condition, and philosophy, but they do it all through like horror, like the horror genre, which totally sounds up my alley. I love topics like that, and I just love like exploring the human condition through literature. I just think it's really, really fun. So I think that this is gonna be so up my alley, and I am so excited to read this. I want to read this right now actually, but it's not part of my TBR, so you best believe I'm going to find a way to get this in my TBR for next month. But I think this is going to be really, really good, and I really want to read it now. I might read like one of the stories just to kind of see what I think about it, but yeah. I'm excited for this one. So that is it, you guys. That is my little haul for you. I'm sorry if I repeated any of these. Like, it's hard for me to remember like what I've hauled in the past. I try to kind of keep track a little bit, but I think sometimes I forget if I've hauled something or not. But hope you guys enjoyed this, and let me know if any of these books were really, really good, or what you thought about any of these books, if you think that I'm going to like them based on my taste. And also in the comments below, put a little book emoji, or the stack of books, since I'm hauling. Do the stack of books emoji in the comments so I know that you made it to the end. And I think that's it, guys. So I'll see you in my next video, and I'll talk to you soon.